Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, hello and welcome to another episode of A Day Late and a Dollar Short. My name is Palladium Moores and I'll be your host for the day. And today's game of choice is Final Fantasy XII. Now, the quick and the dirty, this game's an 8.5 out of 10. It's a really good game across the board, but doesn't have any outstanding features aside from its huge open world. For those of you who are just here for that, have a nice day. For the rest of you, well, buckle up. I say buckle up, but there's not really a ton to say about this one. As far as pros go, for the time, it was a beautiful game. I've seen a lot of the PS4 remake, and it looks like they're doing a lot to update it. But this isn't about that. This is about the original release. So the graphics were just okay for the time, which is pretty rare for Square Enix. But they were a step, not even a full step above Final Fantasy X. I actually think in a lot of ways Final Fantasy X looks better. Also, why is this so grainy? Anyway. The characters were all interesting, but for some reason they didn't mesh well together, so while they worked in their separate groups, as a whole they weren't very convincing, and individual characters, for the most part, didn't have a whole ton of personality. Don't get me wrong, Balthier was fantastic. Everyone else just kind of was there. Yeah, like, they weren't bad. They weren't bad characters. They just weren't, like, outstanding characters. Sound was fantastic. We'll say that for it. Oh... I'm really scraping the bottom of the barrel here. Because, like I said, it is a good game. It's just there's nothing that really is massively standoutish. Now, I'm actually going to contradict myself in what I'm about to say. And that's that combat is really interesting and unique. And the reason I'm saying that is because I'm putting that on a pro, and I'm going to put it on a con. What I like about combat is that you can set up really complex gambits in order to make your characters handle basically any situation that comes their way. And that's fantastic. That was really cool. That was a great way to do it. Like, that was a better way to arrange things, I think, than Final Fantasy XIII's particular system. But I'll go into the cons of that here in a second, because I'm... Actually, you know what? I think that's pretty much it for the pros, so yeah, I'll go into the cons. And that flips me to the other side of combat, and that's that once you set up your gambits, there's not a lot for you to do. We talk about how there's not a whole lot to do in 13 and in 15. There's less to do in the actual combat portion of 12 than there is in either of those two games, and that's an issue. The reason that I'm not docking it as hard here is because you have a long, complex process in order to make your gambits do what you want them to do. And when all that comes together, it's great, but then you're sat back watching the action. I think this was the first really in their step of attempting to make interactive media, and I don't think it worked out in the best way possible. I still find it to be a better and more fun combat system than 13, but it leaves you sitting on the sidelines a lot. You give your characters basically suggestions like, hey, maybe you guys could go over there? And I mean, they'll go and destroy everything in the area, but it doesn't leave you with a whole lot to do. Also, summons were a massive step down in 12. Like, it gets worse. 13 and 15 both have even worse summons than 12, but when you go from Final Fantasy X summons, which are absolutely amazing and the series should have adopted as a norm, possibly even going so far as to have a slot dedicated to summons, and here they're just kind of temporary summons that don't really make up for the loss of two party members. And that is a pretty big issue, because I'm going to summon in something that's going to replace two of my people, it better be damn good at what it does. And these just really aren't. Their final attacks, when you can get them to go off, and some of them that's easy, and some of them that's definitely not, are really good, but still, once again, not enough to make up for the fact that you just sacrificed a good chunk of damage for however long you have them out. Also, summoning them, the cost for that is really high. And if I'm going to pay that high of a cost, once again, what I'm summoning had better be damn well worth it. And here they just really weren't. I've already covered the characters were kind of... They're not bad. Like, I can't really put it on a con, but I can't really put them on a pro as much as I was either. Because they're just sort of there. And that's why I can't give this game higher. Even though there's nothing really wrong with it, there's nothing really great about it either. It's just... And I say that it's an 8.5, so obviously it's really good. It's just, it's missing that last spark that would really push it up to a higher grade. Still, it is a fun game, and if you didn't play it originally, then I definitely suggest picking it up when it comes out. But another issue, actually another con, is that in a lot of ways, characters lose their uniqueness, because everyone can use every weapon. Yeah, they have different weapon styles, but it still doesn't change the fact that everyone can fire a gun in the exact same manner to get the exact same effect. Everyone can use magic. The only thing that really sets people apart are their, what are they called? Originally they were mist attacks. or Mystanex. And then they change them it's a mist attack, okay? You sacrifice a bunch of your magic points to perform a special ability that you can then chain together. And listen, yeah, they're pretty, but they're really useless. Like, not in a good way useless. Just, they aren't fun. A lot of people swear by them, but they were just kind of dull to me. And then, actually, yeah, I thought of another con. This is another reason for me to knock it down to 8.5. That license grid is the stupidest thing I've ever encountered. Okay, no, not the stupidest, that's exaggeration. But it's kind of, you're telling me that I have to learn how to put on a hat. Like, different weapons, okay, yeah, maybe learning the bases for them. But then I don't see how going from a longsword to a longsword made of steel is going to suddenly require that I completely relearn how to use swords. That was silly. Aha! I found something. And that's not to say that I disliked it. I just thought it was a little, like I said, a little dumb that you had to go to that extent to do things. Oh, anything else? Anything else for the cons? Actually, I'm going to go back to the pros. I'm hopping all over the place here. I'm sorry, guys. I'll go back to the pros here for a second now. And that's that the villain is actually a really well done villain. All the villains here are pretty well done. And that's it for that. Alright, I guess that's about all I got. Alright, thank you guys very much for joining me. I do appreciate it. If you enjoyed it, please go ahead and feel free to poke the like button there. And if you'd like to see more, well, I'm not opposed to you subscribing to me. With that being said, I'll be seeing you.